Deregulatory changes made under the administration of former President Donald Trump have gained attention once again as a result of the failure of Silicon Valley Bank. Washington quickly pointed the finger after the abrupt collapse of the 16th largest bank in the nation last week. President Joe Biden and many progressive Democrats have placed some of the blame on a 2018 law that partially repealed the Dodd-Frank Act, a set of laws passed by the federal government in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis. Republicans, on the other hand, blame government spending and inflation as well as so-called woke banking practices. Several experts told ABC News that the failure of regulation and supervision was the cause of the bank's collapse, though there is still more to learn about it. Klein, a senior fellow at the Brookings Institution, claimed that the Federal Reserve completely missed significant classic red flags at Silicon Valley Bank. In light of the ongoing political fallout, here is what you need to know. A comprehensive law overhauling federal financial regulation was passed by Congress in 2010 in response to the worst recession since the Great Depression. One of its key clauses declared any bank with more than $50 billion in assets to be a systemically important financial institution, also known as too big to fail, and subject to stricter prudential standards, including stress tests and requirements for capital planning and liquidity. Dodd-Frank significantly increased the Federal Reserve's ability to regulate banks more firmly, including those for which it wasn't the primary bank regulator, according to Klein. The industry opposed the Dodd-Frank Act, claiming the regulations were onerous and only required for the biggest banks. Gregory Becker, CEO of Silicon Valley Bank, was one of those advocating for laxer rules. Congress passed a law that relaxed some of those regulations for smaller and mid-tier banks in response to years of political pressure. The asset threshold for systemically important institutions was increased from $50 billion to $250 billion, one of the biggest changes. According to the law, the Federal Reserve could still choose to impose the Dodd-Frank regulations on banks with at least $100 billion in assets. In May 2018, Trump signed it into law and referred to it as a big deal for our country. As a result of the Democratic Party's division over the effort to amend Dodd-Frank, more than a dozen senatorial Democrats ultimately sided with Republicans to support the deregulations. It reduced stress testing, collateral calculations, the supervisory stress test, and it enabled them to not publicly conduct or report their own company-run stress tests, said Dennis Keller, president and chief executive officer of the nonprofit Better Markets, of the 2018 law. It blew a hole in several of the important rules protecting financial stability. Critics, such as independent Sen. Bernie Sanders and Democrat Senator Elizabeth Warren, claim that the law's relaxation of regulations was a factor in Silicon Valley Bank's demise. Co-author of the Dodd-Frank Act and board member of the recently closed Signature Bank, Democratic Representative Barney Frank, told Bloomberg that he didn't believe the 2018 changes had an impact. Trump defended it as well, saying regulations were eating alive banks. Some Democrats who supported the law are now standing up for it. On Sunday, Senator Mark Warner said that he believed it put in place an appropriate level of regulation on mid-sized banks. Regional and community banks, according to Senator Tim Kaine, really needed the relief at the time, and solutions should wait until there's an analysis of causes. Stress tests and other financial safety requirements may have caught issues at the institution earlier, but there were warning signs, experts told ABC News during the debate. The red flags that were present at SVB could have been detected without the use of more stringent prudential standards, according to Klein. The bank's rapid asset growth, reliance on uninsured deposits, and the effect of high interest rates on its long-term bonds were among these worries. According to Lawrence Baxter, a law professor at Duke University and a former executive at Wachovia, those deregulatory reforms may well have contributed to laxer, rather than stricter oversight of the 2018 law. Despite this, I don't believe the regulators have completely escaped responsibility because they still have the authority to take action when they notice a rapid decline. We'll also need to determine why they didn't. As he spoke about the banking system on Monday, Biden specifically mentioned the Trump administration's rollbacks and vowed to work for more regulation. The president stated, "I'm going to ask Congress and the banking regulators to strengthen the rules for banks to make it less likely that this kind of bank failure will happen again, and to protect American jobs and small businesses." Bills to repeal the 2018 rollbacks have already been unveiled by Representative Katie Porter, DeCalif, and Warren. Republicans have not yet indicated a desire to revisit the law. The chairman of the House Financial Services Committee, Republican Representative Patrick McHenry of North Carolina, stated that he has confidence in our financial regulators and the safeguards already in place to ensure the safety and soundness of our financial system. According to Republican Senator from Idaho Mike Crapo, who serves on the Senate Banking Committee, nothing in the Dodd-Frank reforms we put together did anything with regard to this crisis. According to two people with knowledge of the matter who spoke with ABC News, the Justice Department and Securities and Exchange Commission are concurrently looking into the collapse of the Silicon Valley Bank. The Federal Reserve Board is also examining the bank's supervision and regulation. The results will be made public.